What is solitary confinement? Imagine being locked in a room that is about 80 square feet with a bed, a toilet, and a sink. Depending on you, you might be able to smuggle in a picture of a dear one, but if found, it's going to be taken away anyways. But imagine having to be there for 23 hours out of a 24-hour day. And it's not just 23 hours, but what about 23 hours times 7 days, times 30 days, times 60 days, times 90 days, or even more? You're not sure how long you're going to be there. It just gives me the chills imagining not having contact with anyone, not being able to be outside and just have fresh air, or being able to watch my favorite shows. So solitary confinement is not always given for the right reasons. It has many effects, and they can vary from adults, juveniles, and the mentally ill. So why are prisoners sent to solitary confinement? According to a survey by the Association of State Correctional Administrators and the Arthur Lehman Center for Public Interest Law at Yale, it found in the fall of 2017, 49,000 inmates were confined to solitary confinement. In 2014, there was at least 67,000, and in 2014, there was 80 to 100,000 people in solitary confinement. Prisoners can be sent to solitary confinement for many reasons. They could have done infractions, which is a violation. It could be a small infraction like talking back, having a pack of cigarettes, or more serious infractions like fighting or having drugs, or for no infraction at all. They do it to manage gangs or to protect certain prisoners. What are the effects of solitary confinement? According to the AFSC, there are some long-term effects. They have hallucinations, they have hypersensitivity, which means that they're sensitive to light or sound. They have insomnia and paranoia. They have suicidal thoughts, and they can get PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress syndrome, which you might have heard from military having PTSD. There are so many long-term effects, but these are some of the things that doctors have seen with the inmates. Psychiatrist Stuart Grayson interviewed many prisoners in solitary confinement. One of the inmates developed an obsession with his bladder feeling fully empty. Grayson told Frontline, "Literally, that man spent hours, 24 hours a day. It was on his mind, hours, standing in front of the toilet trying to pee. It couldn't do anything else except focus on that feeling." Imagine that. Just if you're a man, just standing there trying to pee and nothing comes out. Now, psychologist Craig Hanley also conducted a study in which he found that inmates lose the ability to initiate or control their own behavior or to organize their own lives. Hanley believes it is because they have no control in solitary. Haney told Frontline, "I've had prisoners tell me that the first time they're given an opportunity to interact with other people, they can't do it. And obviously, this is social atrophy. The anxiety which surrounds social interaction can be extremely disabling and problematic for people who are released from solitary confinement. Meaning that because the anxiety, they have trouble re-entering back to their community and even back into, whenever they get out of solitary confinement, they have trouble interacting with other inmates." So what is the difference about juvenile confinement? So according to juvenilelawcenter.org, there has been studies that juveniles in solitary confinement are mostly youth of color. They have disabilities and are in the LGBTQ community. It is for their protection since facilities do not have accommodations for these youth. Solitary confinement interferes with child development. Their brains are not yet developed to take on the psychological damage of solitary confinement. It is also an ineffective therapeutical tool that is not necessary. It has shown no results, but has shown that it can make things worse. There is also a higher rate of suicide because they do not want to go back to the solitary. Juvenile solitary confinement is also seen as child abuse because if a parent did this to their child, they would be sent to jail. So why are we allowing jails to do this to our children? There's actually have been states that have banned juvenile solitary confinement, but there are still some states that have no laws against it. One of those states being Kansas. What about the people with mental illness? Even though the mentally ill are not fit for solitary confinement, they are still allowed to be there. Those who are mentally ill and in confinement can actually make their illness worse. There's also no proper medical procedures in place to deal with the mentally ill. That's why they're in solitary confinement. As long as they're in isolation, they will not get better. A federal judge in the Northern District of California said, it is the equivalent of putting an asthmatic in a place with little air, but they still continue to be sent to isolation. At Tama's Supermax prison in Illinois, a mentally ill inmate mutilated his own genitalia due to a psychotic break. If adults can't handle isolations, why do they think juveniles and mentally ill can? There are many things people don't think about when it comes to solitary confinement. It is crazy how not long ago I didn't know about this issue either. It's sad that not many people are aware of it. This doesn't just affect inmates, but their families and communities. When they get out, they are not able to interact with others. Things have to change in the prisons so that inmates are treated like people, so that the juveniles and the mentally ill are treated right. I feel like the time that they are in jail, it is a time for them to reflect and reflect on what they have done, and it is not for them to attempt to be tortured.